Health means something different to every person at different phases of their life. But nobody, whether they're young or aging, wants to wake up and feel like they're not moving forward in their health. That comes from habit formation, it comes from awareness. And I use the skill set of strength and conditioning with busy corporate professionals here in Singapore, as well as adolescents ages 11 to 18. It's all based on performance, physical and mental well-being, with the skill set to be able to take care of yourself into the future for future generations to come. Thank you for joining the show. A massive topic to discuss and practice and realize and constantly reflect on is sleep. Has so much to do with how well you actually maintain yourself that people dedicate their whole lives to that research. And it's deep. It's like way deeper than we really need to go. We all have our own experiences. I would say I have an element of experience in assisting people into that realization. And of course, I'm always practicing myself. So a really key word that is used in this realization is hygiene. And that's like when you say that word, if you feel it, it might make you think about certain things. Like the other hygiene word that comes to mind is dental hygiene. You don't want to be unhygienic with your teeth. That's kind of what shows when you smile. And if it looks kind of manky in there, I would say that's unhygienic. You don't want to have your kid show up to school and be the stinky kid at school because of his poor hygiene. So when we have a good hygiene with sleep, the definition of hygiene is conditions or practices conducive to maintaining health and preventing disease, especially through cleanliness. So we're being clean and preventing disease as best we can through the practices and conditions of our focus. So we'll talk a little bit about what hygiene means to me. And I also want to talk about this mindset of this descent into sleep. Now, there's this term called morning lark and night owl. So some people really like cling on to the fact that they're more creative at night and that they get more stuff done. I think a lot of times that's conditioned. For sure, their chronotype might be a little bit different than somebody who likes to go to bed early and wake up early before the sun comes up. But in general, I believe that not too many people would really benefit from going to bed after midnight. I personally feel a massive difference between falling asleep at 10:15, which is a good time for me. It means I tried hard to get there, and like even saying that word try, it means I'm really focused on doing the things I got to do to end up at that point. You don't just get there. There's things that lead up to that. So I want to talk about this descent, almost like you're on an airplane going into landing. The captain lets you know, the pilot lets you know that we're going to start our descent down onto the ground. So what happens? Everybody's getting their stuff ready. They're packing up. They're kind of thinking about what they got to do to get ready when they open the door and everybody goes out. So we're going to start that one. And I think it takes longer than 30 minutes. I think sometimes it might take 2 hours. So like after dinner, that process starts to unfold. What does that descent look like? So when I ask somebody about their sleep routine, they say, I try to go to bed at 11 and brush my teeth at 10:45, and it's like, no, this is a journey. So when does the mindset start to realize? I believe it's when the sun goes down. Doesn't mean you're going to go to bed when the sun goes down, but that circadian rhythm has a lot to do with really how our ancestors were kind of naturally knew what it was to be healthy, was just kind of based off of the sun. So we don't live the way that we used to even 200 years ago, not 10,000, just even up to recent history. Now we have awesome technology. We have the light bulb. We have amazing Netflix that is utterly distracting to people and wrecking the amount of sleep they get over the course of a year. If you're not focused on it, if you're okay with waking up tired because of Netflix, there's going to be a lot of other things that you're sacrificing because of that. That show isn't as good as you think it is for what it's actually doing to your health, probably. Okay, so the descent for me looks like this. After dinner, we have some playtime. I'm fortunate because I have a kid, and that means that we're kind of stuck to that routine as well. But that routine looks like finish dinner around 6:45, And then we get to play for like 30 minutes. We start her bath time at 7:30. That means she's getting in bed. We're reading a book after milk at like 8 p.m. So when she's done with that, we exit the room. And now for me, I'm going to the kitchen, straight to the kitchen. I'm going to listen to a podcast and clean up the kitchen and sometimes get her stuff ready for school. Maybe my wife will do that too, but I'm cleaning up and then I'm going to get back to a little bit of stuff that I wanted to do for work. By then it's probably 8:45, going on 9 o'clock. If I do a great job, I'm cutting everything off at 9 o'clock. I'm grabbing Bo, my dog, and I'm taking him straight downstairs for his evening pee before we go to bed. Because if I do that and I get back up at 9:15, I'm still at a good pace where I'm not feeling stressed about going to sleep. I'm keeping my stress response hormones level and I'm allowing my body temperature to like think about starting to decrease. My heart rate isn't getting elevated. Having some awareness of these things, you know? So get back upstairs 9:15 if I'm doing good. If I'm doing poorly, it's 9:45. And that difference in time can make me feel a little bit stressed. So I really have to cut it off at 9 p.m. and do good with that. That's like a line in the concrete, not a line in the sand. The sand can get wiped away. A line in the concrete, it means shut it down. So back upstairs, and now I might eat something. So like 2.5 to 3 hours after dinner or so, I might eat a little snack. Might be a protein bar. It might be cottage cheese. It might be like 3 eggs. It might be almond butter, something that has some protein base to it. And I usually wash it down with some soy milk. And that is more protein on top of that. Why do I do that? I like to feel restored in my muscle recovery the next day. It's an opportunity to eat. I don't like to go to bed feeling hungry, and I don't like to wake up hungry either. That's me personally. I believe there's science base behind that as well, but that's part of my routine. Then I take a shower. I usually light a candle in my bathroom as a part of like an element, being a part of the elements in there, kind of spiritual moment by myself. I'm taking care of my hygiene and, you know, I do my manscaping or whatever. Last night I left a little stuff on my chin. I'm kind of messing with that a little bit, but I usually shave my face so I can tape my mouth shut when I sleep. So we can talk about that with hygiene. So at this time, I'm getting ready for bed. And if I'm getting in bed before 10 p.m., that's awesome. If I'm getting in bed at 10:25, I don't like that feeling. I'm okay with it. If I'm getting in bed at 10:45, I automatically know the next day my sleep score is going to be closer to low 70s. How do I manage that stress, knowing that that's going to be the case because I get up around the same time every day? I like to try to keep that timing the same best I can. And that's why when people travel in different time zones, woo, we get lopsided. And that in itself is tough to manage in its health. And a lot of times the people that I deal with are traveling everywhere. So how do they, one, perform when they show up to their meetings, two, stay well in their like recovery and their musculature, and three, not gain dirty weight? How do they do that? It's hard. It really is. We're not built for this, but we got to do it. We have to evolve this way. We keep evolving, but there's got to be habit formation around the things that matter, and sleep is one of them. So that's my descent. And I have my room cold, like, I don't know, 23 degrees Celsius. The lights are down. I don't have the big lights on. I think that's common knowledge. Hopefully you guys don't walk into a super bright room when our eyes need to be getting used to the light being dimmed. And I do bring my cell phone into my room with intentions of I got to maybe send one or two messages for confirmation, but I also like to leave it there for my alarm in the morning, and I leave it. I don't turn off the Wi-Fi. I don't know. Okay, I could do that and be better at that, but I'm not going to sit here and say, don't bring your device in the room, because sometimes that device is used for more than just social media. Okay. I also like to do a little bit of writing on kind of visualizing how my day is going to go. And just maybe I'll reflect on what went well that day while I'm hugging my dog. I got to brush his teeth. We brush his teeth every night. So like all of this stuff adds up. You cannot cram all of this into 30 minutes. I truly believe it takes 2 hours to get ready for sleep. So that's the descent. If you're on 5-hour flight, the captain goes, we have 2 hours until landing. And you start like putting your stuff in your bag and like cleaning up the trash and like getting comfortable. And do you want to put your neck pillow away or do you hold it on and keep it for a little while? And then, like that mindset starts occurring. So inside of that, what is hygiene? What are the conditions and practices inside of, I guess, when you're in bed or like even when you're sleeping? So I mentioned mouth tape. To me, mouth tape has changed my life on a big level because if you think about it, I mean, I tape my mouth because I end up sleeping like this a lot. And most people think, oh, it's because you snore. No, I don't think so. Maybe sometimes, but I have my head back like this and I just breathe through my mouth. And it's kind of shallow. It's like a shallow, non-diaphragmatic breath. And your diaphragm is a massive core muscle that initiates respiration. You pull oxygen into your lungs with your diaphragm. And you're not totally using that with a shallow mouth breath. So when I tape my mouth shut, just doing that, like wanting to take a nasal breath is deep. It fills up a lot of the lungs. And if I do that for every breath, if I'm breathing 10 times a minute, oh my gosh, like how many minutes, how many breaths am I taking? Totally feel that difference. And if my sleep score is 72, but I got really good breathing, I feel like it was 78. So now what does that mean? It means I have a great day. And I'll have a great day when I'm 72. I find a way, but it's because I know that I'm just constantly moving forward in certain things and I'm practicing and I'm learning. That's hygiene. What else is hygiene? Being close to your partner, finding a way to like share some love and like listen to how their day was or give them a little kiss or whatever it is. That love, that affection is important too. So man, what another topic that tends to be is your spouse in align with where you're trying to go? Most of the time they're not. Rarely do you find somebody that is like super compatible in that. Everybody's different. Maybe health to that person means like just turning their mind off and looking at stupid stuff on their phone that makes them happy, and then they're discovering different things that way. You can't judge that. Evan said leave your device outside the room, so you're unhealthy. Well, you're unhealthy for judging that person. How about that? Right? So there's a lot to it. It matters to you what is hygienic to you. I also have a little music box that my wife got me. I think it's called a Morphe. And like it feels nice to like kind of hear that wooden box kind of play a little tune while you fall asleep. Which leads me to a point of this term called latency. So latency is, I guess, described as the amount of time it takes you to like fall asleep when you lay down. And I use an Aura Ring tracker. Wow, it does an amazing job of like the detail of tracking your sleep and giving you information. And that's where I get my sleep score. I think you can use your Apple Watch or like a Fitbit. There's other devices out there, but the Aura Ring that I use is amazing for that. And it's super accurate. It's accurate because I feel what I see. I could probably tell you what it is before I see it. So that latency, I know I'm super tired when it's like less than 5 minutes. If I fall asleep in under 5 minutes, I'm too tired. But then when I fall asleep within like 10 minutes, it's like a good spot. So like it's interesting how very sensitive certain things are just in this topic alone. But I think a lot of times people see health as diet and exercise, which to me is like chicken and broccoli. And to be honest, haven't had broccoli in a long time. Like, okay, some florets here and there, but not in the broccoli and chicken sense that people would think that I do. And I have this. Am I healthy? Probably pretty healthy. Yeah. So getting back to the hygiene, there's definitely like inside of the routine, it's so detailed. If it's not, it means you like haven't even thought about how important this is. So that's why I'm having this conversation with people because you can't win. You can't win in the gym with your muscle. You're not going to repair. You're going to stress yourself out more. Sure. You might make some initial gains. Yeah. you're going to feel better because you haven't done crap in a long time. Okay, fine. But what about like the 2-year gain, the 5-year gain, the 10-year gain? If you're 44, you have a really great chance of feeling much better at 54 than you did at 44 if you start getting better at these things. So here's a few facts for you. So there are 2 hormones that we need to focus on with sleep, and they are called ghrelin and leptin. And I wish I could bring this up right now, but I'm having a hard time finding it. But essentially, ghrelin is these hormones help you realize if you're satiated or if you need to eat. And when you don't get enough sleep and you don't repair well, that hormone balance is elevated and suppressed. So ghrelin is a satiety hormone, I think, which makes you like, no, sorry, that's leptin. Ghrelin makes you think you're hungry. So if you're not eating, if you're eating and you're like, man, I can't eat enough, like a meal that should be enough isn't enough because your hormones are out of whack because you got 5.5 hours of sleep last night. So it's not the fact that you're a big fat fatty, which you kind of feel that way. And I felt that way, like, dude, I can't, I'm just like, what's gorging myself right now? Well, I've only gotten 6 hours of sleep the past 3 nights. Of course, like things are a little bit off. So if you realize that there's a hormonal response and balance to having a good night's sleep, then you won't beat yourself up as much when you start thinking about eating more when you usually don't if you are getting an okay night's sleep. The hormone retractor balance, elevation and suppression has to have some realization. So you're not, when you're eating what would be enough, it's still not enough because that hormone isn't realizing that it is. When you thought you ate enough and your body's telling you to have more, you're just like drink water. 30% of the time, that's water anyway. Okay. Another interesting fact is daylight savings time, which is a great indicator of the importance of sleep because in springtime, when you spring forward an hour, what happens? You lose an hour of sleep. Your circadian rhythm changes. You were going to bed at 10:30, but now you spring forward, now it's 11:30. But you got to get up at still got to get up at 6:45, but that feels like 5:45. And heart attacks go up. There's studies been shown that heart attacks go up by 24% on the Monday following daylight savings time. Conversely, and in the fall, when you fall back an hour, you get an extra hour of sleep. Same kind of ratio, like 21% rate heart attacks go down compared to like the average within the time not changing. So when that time zone shifts, people's bodies have a change, and sometimes that change causes your heart to stop. I'm talking about a very important organ, muscle that has ability to like pump fluid all throughout your body, done, because sleep was different. So most of the time people come to me, they want this change. How do I lose this right there? Which is literally the tip of a massive iceberg. And I say, just chop it off. But then that iceberg's going to go bloop and just come up a little bit more. So you don't just lose it. You start to realize the bigger picture of you and what really, maybe some things that you're doing well for sure. Always reflect on that. But what are some things that can be a little bit better? And usually the sleep routine can be refined and better and better and reflected upon and better and better and better and better and more detailed and disciplined. And maybe you start sharing your sleep routine. So this is one big topic, probably circle back to this plenty of times. If you have any input or questions, or did I say anything that you feel is maybe not aligned with what is real out there, it is definitely a topic. And when I see that people are sleeping better, I also see that their performance is better. And I also see that they're making better decisions. And I also see that just life starts to flow for them a little bit better. When they're not sleeping as good as they could be, and they know it, and it's hard because, well, change is hard. Usually they're not happy with this. And if we've measured within like 2 to 3 weeks in terms of body fat percentage and sleep has been a little bit off, and choices have been a little bit off, what do you think happens with their body fat percentage? It trends up. It trends up. Oh no, I've lost everything I've gained. No, you haven't, because you've learned some stuff, right? Or are we just so numb that we're not realizing that evolution is occurring and that we are mortal? We won't make it off of this planet alive, and we are aging. So we're working against time and gravity. We have to have good habits, because never in your life will be a good time to really start. Maybe start, but it's always going to be disrupted by sickness, travel, boss, kids, a million things get in your way for you to be well. What's going to keep you stable? Habit formation. You don't have a choice. It's the only thing that can save you. Habit formation around your sleep routine at night and your wake routine in the morning. I'm probably going to come back around and discuss your morning routine and the super value that you could give yourself for actually having started that well versus starting it in a way that healthy people wouldn't even dream of. Thank you for joining. Can't wait to have you on the next one, and I can't wait to see how this develops. Please like and subscribe. Let's see how much I can grow this thing. Share this with your friends who you think would benefit from what I got to say. Thank you.